Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Everybody, please have a seat. It is wonderful to be here and to see all of you here today. I would be remiss if I did not note the presence of your governor. Give him a big round of applause, Arnold Schwarzenegger. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and mention our district attorney, Kamala Harris, is here. It is great to be in Fremont. Good to be back in Northern California. I was reminiscing a little bit. Michelle and I took our honeymoon in Napa Valley. It was almost 17 years ago, and we drove down the Pacific Coast Highway, and so I was fantasizing about going and renting a car. But I was told that would cause a stir. So next time. But it's wonderful to be here in Northern California. It is always nice to get out of Washington a little bit. Now, don't get me wrong, the Capitol is a beautiful place, nice monuments. I have no commute, which very few people in California can say is true for them. But the truth of the matter is that when you're in Washington, a lot of times all you're thinking about, or all that's being talked about, is politics. Who's up, who's down, the contest between the parties, instead of people remembering why it is that they aspired to go into politics in the first place. We end up getting caught up in the moment instead of what is important for the future. So I try to visit places like this about once a week, hear from folks as often as possible who are actually doing the extraordinary work of building up America. And I appreciated the chance to tour your plant and to see the incredible cutting-edge solar panels that you're manufacturing, but also the process that goes into the manufacturing of these solar panels. And it is just a testament to American ingenuity and dynamism and the fact that we continue to have the best universities in the world, the best technology in the world, and most importantly, the best workers in the world. And you guys all represent that. So thank you very much for that. And while I'm at it, I also want to give some credit to those guys in the back who have been building this facility so that we can put more people back to work and build more solar panels to send all across the country. Thank you for the great work that you guys are doing. Now, it's fitting that this technology is being pioneered here in California. Where else, right? For generations, this part of the country has embodied the entrepreneurial spirit that has always defined America's success. People heading west. It was here where weary but hopeful travelers came with pickaxes in search of a fortune. It was here that tinkerers and engineers turned a sleepy valley into a center of innovation and industry. It's here that companies like Solyndra are leading the way toward a brighter and more prosperous future. And you're doing so at a time of real challenge for America. I don't have to tell you that. The governor doesn't have to tell you that. California was hit as hard as any state by the home mortgage crisis and the economic storms that followed. Even this high-tech corridor wasn't immune. Foreclosures skyrocketed, home values fell, businesses slowed, from family restaurants to Fortune 500 companies. Fremont lost thousands of jobs as the NUMMI auto plant slowed production and shut down, and that hurt not only auto workers but local businesses and parts suppliers. Many in this community are still reeling from the effects of the recession. And that followed a decade of struggle and growing economic insecurity for a lot of middle-class families. The truth is, even though the economy is growing and adding jobs again, it's going to take a while to create the favorable conditions for communities like this one to rebound and to flourish. But what was clear when I walked through the Oval Office door, at a time of maximum peril in our economy, when economists were warning we might be going into a Great Depression and the financial system might be on the verge of collapse, what was clear was that even though it might be difficult, and even though some of the things we had to do might not be politically popular, we had to act. We couldn't accept a future that was marked by decline. And that's why we took a series of steps to stop what was nothing short of an economic freefall. We passed a series of tax cuts to put more money in the pockets of working families right away, including more than 12 million families in California. We increased the Pell Grant, which brought $4 million of additional aid to students right here in Fremont. We backed loans to small businesses, including $20 million to companies in this community alone. We also provided relief for those hardest hit, who not only needed help, but would most likely use the relief to generate more economic activity. So we extended unemployment benefits for more than 3 million California residents and made COBRA cheaper for people who had lost their jobs so they could keep their health care for their families. We provided $250 in relief to more than 5 million California seniors, many whose life savings have taken a big hit in the financial crisis. And we provided emergency assistance to our governors to prevent teachers and police officers and firefighters from being laid off as a result of state budget shortfalls. At a time when California is facing a fiscal crisis, we know that this has saved the jobs of tens of thousands of educators and other needed public servants just in this state. And what was true in California was true all across the country. But our goal in dealing with this economic crisis wasn't just about bringing an end to the recession. We said to ourselves, we've got to build a new foundation for lasting growth. We can't have an economy that's just built on maxing out on credit cards and home equity loans and complex financial instruments that are generating big bonuses but can potentially bring an entire economy down. So we recognize that we've got to go back to basics. We've got to go back to making things. We've got to go back to exports. We've got to go back to innovation. And we recognize that there was only so much government could do. The true engine of economic growth will always be companies like Solyndra, will always be America's businesses. But that doesn't mean the government can just sit on the sidelines. Government still has the responsibility to help create the conditions in which students can gain an education so they can work at Solyndra, and entrepreneurs can get financing so they can start a company, and new industries can take hold. So that's why, even as we cut taxes and provided emergency relief over the past year, we also invested in basic research, in broadband networks, in rebuilding roads and bridges, in health information technology, and in clean energy. Because not only would this spur hiring by businesses, it would create jobs in sectors with incredible potential to propel our economy for years, for decades to come. There's no better example than energy. We all know the price we pay as a country as a result of how we produce and use, and yes, waste energy today. We've been talking about it for decades, since the gas shortages of the 1970s. Our dependence on foreign oil endangers our security and our economy. Climate change poses a threat to our way of life. In fact, we're already beginning to see its profound and costly impact. And the spill in the Gulf, which is just heartbreaking, only underscores the necessity of seeking alternative fuel sources. We're not going to transition out of oil next year or 10 years from now. But think about it. Part of what's happening in the Gulf is that oil companies are drilling a mile underwater before they hit ground, and then a mile below that before they hit oil. With the increased risks, the increased costs, it gives you a sense of where we're going. We're not going to be able to sustain this kind of fossil fuel use. This planet can't sustain it. And think about when China and India, where consumers there are starting to buy cars and use energy the way we are. So we've known that we've had to shift in a fundamental way, and that's true for all of us. Now, earlier today I spoke